The fingers on the right side begin with the flexion and end extended. The movement is extension and the tension is concentric. The muscles on the right side are the extensor digitorum, extensor indicus, extensor digiti minimi, the extensor pollicis longus, the extensor pollicis brevis, and the adductor pollicis longus. The fingers on the left side begin abducted with a slight flexion. They end slightly flexed, so the movement is slight adduction. The tension is eccentric, and the muscles used on the left side are the flexor digitorum, superficialis, flexor digitorum profundus, and the flexor pollicis longus. The cervical spine begins in neutral and ends extended. The movement is then extension and the tension is concentric, with the muscles being used being the splenius and the erector spinae. The lumbar spine begins with a slight extension and slight rotation to the right. The ending position is then a neutral and the movement is flexion with a left rotation. The tension is concentric with the muscles being used the rectus abdominis, the right external oblique, and the left external oblique. The hip on the right side begins with a slight flexion and ends in neutral. The movement is then extension and the tension is eccentric. The muscles used on this side are the gluteus maximus, biceps femoris, semitendinosus, and semimembranosus. The left side begins with extension and ends in extension. The movement is then a slight flexion, with the tension being concentric. The muscles on the left side used are the iliopsoas, pectineus, sartorius, rectus femoris, and tensor fascia lata. The knee on the right side begins slightly flexed and ends extended. The movement is then extension and the tension is concentric. The muscles used on this side are the gluteus maximus, biceps femoris, semitendinosus, and semimembranosus. The knee on the left side begins extended and ends slightly flexed. The movement is then flexion with an eccentric tension. The sartorius, pectineus, iliopsoas, rectus femoris, and the tensor fascia lata are then used. For the ankle, both sides begin in neutral, but the right side ends in neutral as well, and there is no movement, which means that it's isometric. The left side ends with a slight plantar flexion, which means the movement is plantar flexion, and this is concentric. However, both sides still use the gastrocnemius, soleus, and posterior tibialis. The toes begin in neutral on the right side and end in neutral. Therefore, there is no movement and is isometric. The right side uses the flexor digitorum longus, the flexor hallucis longus, and the posterior tibialis. The toes on the left side begin in neutral and end extended. The movement is extension, and this is concentric. The muscles used are the extensor hallucis longus, the extensor digitorum longus, and the extensor digitorum brevis.